Hi there! Welcome back to another video on my channel. Today I'm in my sunroom and oh my goodness, it is freezing. Hence why you see me in this Hugh Hefner-esque sort of robe situation here. I promise I have clothes underneath. It's just, it is really chilly. I love having this sunroom. It's amazing, but in the wintertime it gets so cold here. So if you're watching this video and you see this, that's why. I also have like this tea mug with me with like one of my favorite mugs. It's got a bunch of cherries on it. And you can probably see it steaming maybe. I don't know, it's steaming in real life. But yeah, that's why I am so cold right now. Ouch. That is hot. Okay, anyway. So BookTube Newbie tags. I feel like I'm really late to the party for this specifically because I've had a YouTube channel for a while and I've also sort of been doing book related content for the past year. I had different content before, but I just started randomly making book stuff one day because I was like, you know what, this is what I feel like doing. But I saw a different YouTuber, and I'll put the name of the channel here down below. I believe it was like Nicole or Nicolette's Nook, and I saw this video recommended to me on my YouTube wall, and I was like, oh my god, I should do that. And then I looked into it, and a bunch of different bookish accounts have already done some sort of booktube newbie tag to get to know the account, and I haven't done this and I've been sleeping on this. Maybe this isn't even a trend anymore, I don't know, but I thought it would be nice to like kind of like reintroduce myself to you guys in this sort of way. So if you're interested in that, just keep on watching. So I'm just going to do the questions that they did in their video. Okay, and the first question is, why did you start this channel? So fun fact, I actually started this channel in like 2016. Like if you go to my channel page, it'll say 2016, which you'll say like, damn girl, that's a long time ago. I made this channel and then I didn't post for years and years afterwards. I got inspired because at the time I was watching a lot of people who make Pokemon themed content, hence the name of this channel, Kutiefly. I was like, I was thinking that I was going to be a big PokeTuber like the people I watched. At the time, I was watching a lot of Munching Orange, Tyranitar Tube, Birdkeeper Toby, and Ace Trainer Liam. Those four were like my go-to on rotation, and I thought I would be like them. So I made this channel, took the name Kutiefly right away. I just changed it from a C to a K because my name is Cassidy with a K, so I thought that was more fitting. I never worked up the courage to actually make a video until much later. I started posting videos more so when I got to grad school, and by then I'm like a whole adult. I guess, I don't know. But I started posting videos as a hobby in grad school, and those are completely random. A lot of them still have things to do with Pokemon, but at the time I was trying to mix Pokemon and beauty content, so I would do Pokemon inspired makeup looks, Pokemon Go type vlogs. It's all very cringe. Don't look it up. Yeah. But that's what I was doing at first. And then over time, I just feel like as I've been posting more and more about different hobbies of mine, I've just naturally grown and changed. And although I had a love of reading when I was young, I was so involved in academics at the time that I didn't find myself reading for fun necessarily. And I would spend all my time reading, sure, but I was reading textbooks and things for class. It wasn't until after I graduated and I was done with academia that I started reading for pleasure again. And as most of you know, I started writing again during the pandemic. So the two kind of coalesce, and I've been kind of trickling in book content into my page ever since then. Now I will post writing updates, videos related to writing that might give maybe some advice to folks. I talk about horror in general and different subgenres of horror and how you can write or work in those spaces if you create films or books or whatever. And I also talk about the books I read, right? I read quite a bit. This shelf I share with my husband, but I read quite a bit, and it's something that I enjoy personally, but it's also good for what I'm doing now. The best way to get better at writing is to read. So yeah, so that's kind of how it trickled into this channel. I don't want to call this channel specifically just booktube content because again, I want it to reflect my personality and my hobbies, and YouTube itself is a hobby for me. So I just want it to culminate into all of that. So like, yes, a booktube channel, but maybe now and then I'll do a makeup video, or yes, I give writing advice, but maybe now and then I'll talk about video games or anime. So yeah, that's kind of what this channel is, and it's just a modge podge of things. What is unique about this channel, or what sort of unique or fun things are you going to bring to YouTube? I kind of touched on it already, just saying that this is like a hodgepodge of stuff. I don't really have a niche, and I feel like when people give you advice traditionally to post content or become an influencer or a content creator or whatever, they really want you to niche down and do one specific thing, because then it's like predictable for your audience and they can return to you over and over again. I'm kind of not doing that. So I think that in itself is unique. But also I think in terms of like bookish spaces, the fact that I'm an author as well maybe might provide some insights into book reviews and stuff, if that's what you're looking for, that other readers might not have, because maybe they aren't as well versed in craft, I guess, or maybe they're not thinking from the same sort of perspective as somebody who writes. I do know a lot of readers are also writers, so maybe that's not super unique in itself, but at least you can expect that from me, I guess. What are you most excited about this channel or starting this channel? I'm just excited to build some sort of community. I'm somebody who is maybe not the best at socialization. I mean, I'm friendly and I know that I can make friends easily, but at the end of the day, it's sometimes I just feel like it's this thing where I am like perpetually lonely, as sad as that is. And like, I really want to build a community of folks. I want to be able to talk to a lot of different folks. And I know I'm not posting like a crazy amount like other people do. Like, especially on Threads, people post like 10 times a day and I'm like, what? So I might not be the best about posting super duper frequently, but I do want to have a sense of community or feel like a soft spot for folks to land. I'm learning that this is what I want to do in my real life as well as in the digital space, is that I want to feel like home to folks. And if I can do that for people, I think that would be the most fulfilling and rewarding thing personally. Also, I'm just excited for the accountability too. Like it's one thing to just try to work on projects by yourself, but it's another thing if other people are like looking forward to what you're doing, and it's like added motivation to get stuff done. So the accountability aspect, the community building aspect, and I don't know, I'm just excited to read more books. I need to, I feel like I'm not reading super quickly lately, or like it's just because life is so busy, other things are falling by the wayside. I really want to be able to block out time and dedicate time to just reading. I mean, my TBR pile is like super freaking huge right now. So I really got to get through that. So if y'all can hold me accountable, that would be great. Why do you love reading? I just love reading. I've always loved reading. I was a very shy and very, very, very introverted child. I'm talking like I could not enter a room full of people without having a meltdown and crying. So again, socialization is not my strong suit sometimes, and I still get nervous in groups of people. So I tend to gravitate towards quiet spaces, even though I do want to have like an exciting life and like do fun things. I gravitate towards quiet spaces. I started reading really, really young, just based on that sort of personality. And also, my mom was a big advocate for reading. Like, there was never a time we weren't reading in the house or there wasn't a book in my face at some point in time. It was just something I naturally gravitated to. And I think because, again, it's super freaking sad, but like reading made me feel less lonely when I wasn't super amazing at connecting with folks. As you can probably tell, I am a little bit neurospicy. So I think that was a big part of it being young. I TMI, but there was some developmental delays in terms of communicating and socialization for me. But I felt like with a book, you can still engage and read and learn about somebody new and like see all this cool stuff happening and read about them and their friends and learn about so many new people without the stressor of being put in an unpredictable situation. I guess it felt like, I don't know, engaging with things and escaping to all these worlds and doing all this cool stuff without the threat of actually having to put it forward. I don't know, that sounds so like sad. I don't know, I'm just being honest, guys. Like, okay. But yeah, I love reading, and I don't like, there's pictures of me with baby books in my face as an infant. So it's kind of like, it's hard for me to describe why I love reading, because I feel like it's something that's just always been there, you know? Okay, what book slash series got you into reading? Like I said, it's always been a constant for me, but I think like the first book series I really enjoyed as a younging, two come to mind. One, it's like Junie B. Jones. My mom had that stacked everywhere. She had complete collections of the Junie B. Jones books. And I like a girl with a sassy personality. What can I say? So I also read a lot of Magic Tree House books. I love those. There's such a like anything with, okay, let's be for real. Anything with a collecting mechanic, I'm gonna love. I think I've said that on this channel before when it comes to video games, but books is the same. And Junie B. Jones and Magic Treehouse were both series that had like books upon books upon books to read. If you're unfamiliar, Junie B. Jones was like this sassy little girl, and I don't even remember a whole lot of the plots, but she was just really outspoken, and like it kind of reminds me of like Eloise at the Plaza, if you've ever read that, where it's just like a girl being authentically messy, and I really like that. And then the Magic Treehouse books are kind of like a way to introduce kids to history. The Magic Treehouse was essentially like a time machine or whatever, and it would transport these kids into different periods of time, different geographical places too. So that was cool for me because I think I am a bit of a history nerd deep down. I'm a nerd about so many different things, but that was my first installation of like liking history and learning a lot about history was through Magic Treehouse books. When I got a little bit older than that, I started reading Goosebumps books. That was super super popular. Like I think it still is really popular, but it was really popular for like my age group. My mom was also a librarian, our elementary school librarian, so we stayed in the library after school quite a bit while she finished work. Because I mean, you get off of school at like I don't know, like 3 something, and then my mom worked till like 5, so she would be sorting books and doing all the librarian stuff she needed to do, and then I would just be reading while my siblings were off breaking something. I don't know. So yeah, that was my childhood in a nutshell. But I remember the majority of time I would spend reading would be Goosebumps books. I particularly enjoyed the choose your own adventure type Goosebumps books. So I have a copy on my nightstand now. I want to get into it, but I think reading Goosebumps really influenced a lot of what I do now. So I can talk about that later. But yeah, Goosebumps was essential. And then of course, like, you know, I was a huge Harry Potter kid. I was obsessed for a long time. I've kind of like distanced myself from the series now as an adult, given what we know about the author. At the time they were super important to me, and I still have the books up on the shelf high up there. Because it really got me super obsessed with reading. I remember reading the first couple of books with my grandmother, and that was like our special thing. And like, I was obsessed. You guys don't understand. I literally won a Harry Potter lookalike contest at Notre Dame, and I won a free set of books because I dressed up like Harry Potter. And then I like also read so much Harry Potter fan fiction online, and like again, super cringe. But I read a lot of like Harry Potter fan fiction involving the Weasley twins. I think I have a thing for twins. I don't know. But that was like also a huge like cringe type thing, is like reading Harry Potter romantic fan fiction specifically about the twins, and specifically about I think Fred was my favorite one, but I don't remember. Anyway, so that was like my whole thing. I remember oh my god, dating myself. I remember going to like the midnight premiere of book releases for Harry Potter at Borders, and they had a music group there, like a band that was dedicated to just Harry Potter themed music or Harry Potter lyrics. And they were so funny. They were like jokey type songs, but I got their CD and I was obsessed with them, and I would listen to it all the time. I cannot tell you the name of that band now. I think it was called the Quaffle Kids. Actually, yeah, they were called the Quaffle Kids, and it was like a bunch of grown men. But anyway, that's how obsessed I was. So that just tells you everything you need to know there. I was also really into Twilight when I read the books at the time. Again, preteen hormones and boy crazy phase would make you into that. I was more so into Jacob than Edward. My sister had a crush on Edward because she's goth, and I liked Jacob, and so much so that my uncle got me a life-size Jacob cardboard, not cardboard, but like he was like a life-size cutout of Jacob Black that he got from like a Burger King promotion or whatever, and got me for a birthday present or a Christmas present one year. So yes, all the cringe reading in middle school and high school. And then like I said, it kind of my reading for pleasure started falling off once I got a little bit older and it was like more serious about studying. But I'm coming back to it. Like I've returned to it and I'm an active reader now and I love it. So yeah. What questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? Let me shout my 2 favorite booktubers out right now. I like With Cindy a ton, and then I also listen to Reads with Rachel quite a bit. I love them. I'm just always impressed by booktubers or bookish like social media accounts in general about how many books they read in like one go or 1 month or whatever. I'm lucky to finish 3 in a month. I think that's like my max has been maybe 5, and that's me really powering through stuff. I don't know how people read so quickly. And I would consider myself somebody who reads pretty quickly. Like, I have definitely mastered the art of skimming in grad school, but like, I don't want to skim with fiction books because the whole point is to sit and enjoy it. I know some people do that. And I'm not hating because it's like their job or whatever. But I don't know how people do it. I do know people listen to audiobooks, and maybe I should be doing that as well. It's just, I listen to a lot of YouTube. If I'm like up and about doing things, I put YouTube on the background, and I feel like, again, if I'm in a store, I really want to be immersed with it. So, like, if I'm doing laundry and doing something else, can I focus on a book? I don't know. Maybe I'm just being critical because I listen to like a lot of YouTube videos while I fold laundry or cook or do whatever. I can still manage. So maybe I'm just being picky. So my first question would be like, one, how is this physically possible? I guess. But also with that, it's like, this kind of goes back to the big other question that about like, what do you bring to the booktube space? I kind of like want to be part of like the de-influencing crowd, but I don't think this is the right word. I've noticed that like I made a video about this kind of, and at the time I was like doing a little bit of pushback against it. I made a video about anti-intellectualism in the book space, and I think it's one of my more popular the videos I've made. At the time, I was like not wanting to blame readers for this problem because at the heart of it, I believe it's overconsumption and capitalism that's ruining people's experiences with reading. Like, the quality of book isn't necessarily a reflection on the reader itself, because sometimes you just need an easy read, or if you're somebody who hasn't read for a long time, it's a good way to introduce you back into books. And that, like, for people who want to have more academic discussions, there are spaces for that with like book clubs or classroom like settings or like different book accounts, right? I definitely want to be approachable, but I do want to stray away from like this overconsumption, hyper capitalistic book consumer culture. I think it's fun to have a collection of books. Don't get me wrong. I have lots of books. I do. I see book hoarding and it's cool, but some of the stuff I see is like people with like perfectly organized, super full, giant wall to ceiling book shelves and giant book piles everywhere, and people reading like 20 books in a month or whatever. And I just don't think that I can physically keep up with that load with like my lifestyle and my health and like everything else. But also, I just feel like that's like an unrealistic standard. It gives me Sheen Hall vibes, if you remember those, but just transformed in a book space. So, although I do want to be able to read more quickly so I can give better reviews to you guys or like talk about books more with you guys, I also don't want to try to kill myself in the process, and set this unrealistic standard for folks, because then there's going to be like some readers that are like, well, I can't read that fast. What's wrong with me? And I think that's kind of disheartening. So, I asked those questions, and I'm not necessarily accusing Reads with Rachel or with Cindy for either of those things, because I don't think they do that. And I think that's why I like them a lot, is because like Reads with Rachel will dedicate like a whole video to one book, right? I don't feel that they do that as much, but definitely on TikTok, that's like, again, with short form content, it's like designed for that kind of thing. So I feel like that kind of content is more prevalent on there. I just want to be chill, man. Like, that's kind of what I wanted to also bring to this booktube space. It's just like, listen, you can just chill with me. We'll shut up and we'll read, and it'll be great. The next question is, what challenges would be the hardest to overcome? I think I literally just talked about that. But I will extrapolate more. So the hardest part about I think producing content is constantly cultivating content, right? Again, I want this to be a chill space for everybody, so I'm going to try to resist that as much as possible in terms of like overconsumption of books and stuff like that. But also, I also think in doing that, it's a little bit more punk rock to like what the current algorithm feeds people, because I think in terms of like social media success, consumerism is like entangled in that. And so to try to disentangle yourself from that, it might be difficult for people to actually see your videos, because that's not what wants to be marketed right now. I do think the demand is changing. Like, I think people do want to just kind of wind down and chill more, and I think we've constantly been overstimulated by videos and pictures and short form content on our phones for so long. I think a lot of us are trying to take a break from that, and are opting in for more longer form videos. But I don't think the algorithm has caught up yet. So like, in terms of like on my end, like the back end of making videos, I think that's going to be a really big challenge. But that's not one that like most people might want to see. It might be something to consider if you want to make a BookTube account too, of what your goals are and how that would fit with the algorithm and trends and stuff like that. But I think that in itself is probably a major challenge. Okay, the next question. When did you start reading? I think I already answered this, but again, I've been reading ever since I've had eyeballs. I fell off a little bit when I was in college in particular, but then after I've gotten out of academia, I've been reading a lot more, and now I read consistently and I love it. So now that I have more time for me, I get to pick and choose the books I want to read. It doesn't mean I'm like completely devoid of nonfiction because I still enjoy like nonfiction type reads, but I definitely get to experiment more with what I read. So that's great. Where do you read? I'm just going to talk about where I read and then maybe I'll show you like clips of the spaces in my house. But obviously, I read here first and foremost, especially when the weather's nice. I like reading in this room. We have a lamp, a very nice, cozy lamp, and all my books here. My TBR pile is actually right next to this bookshelf. But yeah, I sit here. I have my chair. My husband has his identical chair, and a lot of times we'll read together, or I'll read by myself, and he might do another activity. Like he used to knit. He hasn't been knitting in a while, but we like to read here, especially when it's warmer. Right now, it's a little bit chilly, but it's nice, especially when it's like raining outside, or there's snow, or like leaves are falling or something. It's very like cozy and super nice. So this is my number one spot for reading for sure. I'll also read on the couch sometimes. I do have some books out there, but those are books that I've already read. But sometimes I'll read on the couch too. It's not my favorite, but one of my favorite places to read is actually in bed. I love bed rotting. I love it. It's not a healthy thing to do, but I love it. So I will definitely spend hours in bed reading with my cozy lamp that has warm lighting in it, and I will definitely curl up with a book before bed. And I've been reading about 3 chapters a night so far in the current book I'm working on. I'm working on All's Well by Mona Awad, and this is my 3rd book of hers. She's one of my favorite authors. So yeah, so I've been reading there as well. I like reading outside too. I love reading on the beach in the summertime. I used to do that as a teenager too, and it was like so much fun to just drive up to Lake Michigan by myself and like read and tan. Oh, love it. So I love reading on the beach, and I try to do that with my husband now. But we do have like an outdoor space, but it's like communal. So like I can read there, and I have read out there before, but it's just kind of like, I don't know, it doesn't feel as private, I guess. So yeah, if you have more spaces recommendations for places for me to read, let me know. I've read at parks before, but I just feel like the beach is like ultimate reading space. I don't know what it is. What kinds of books do you like to read? What genres do you like to read? Okay, so if it's weird, I will like it. I read, so my favorite sorts of books, I read a lot of horror, first and foremost. It shouldn't be a surprise to y'all. I write that. So I read horror. I'll read fantasy, although I like horror more. I like fantasy and sci-fi, but I'm really gravitating towards horror and like, I guess like more like contemporary fiction or like weird fiction. I like a lot. I've noticed that a lot of like lit fic people or highbrow people, yeah, are incorporating horror elements in their storytelling as of late. So I've also been reading stuff like that, even though they won't call it horror, they'll call it everything else, but there's still monsters in it, girl. So what are we doing? Um, yeah, so I read that. I also love a good mystery. I like anything that can trick me. That's a big thing for me. If something I read has a plot twist that's unexpected, or I love it. If it tricks me, I love it. I don't like to toot my own horn, but a lot of times I can like predict things, especially if we're watching TV. It drives my husband crazy, but I'll be like, oh yeah, this is what they're gonna say, or I'll be like, oh, this is what's gonna happen next. And most of the time I'm right, and it's no fun to watch TV with me. So if something can trick me, I will love it. So I like mysteries. I like thrillers. I also really love nonfiction. I think most of my books that I've read this year are at least half of them have been nonfiction reads. I just love learning. I love nonfiction books about science. I've read some nonfiction books about language. I just can't really escape that vein, I guess, because when I was in school, a lot of the books I would read were I took a lot of English classes, Spanish classes, history classes, uh, political sociology, econ classes, because I was an international studies major. So you take a wide course of things. So I that's what my traditional bread and butter, but I found myself gravitating more towards the sciences, and so I've been reading books on physics lately. I've read books on botany and plant sciences. Well, one book that stands out to me is not science, but it's linguistics, and it's talking about the languages that people who are in cults use, and how different companies use cult like strategies or language to try and manipulate their consumers. Wonderful. So that kind of stuff I like. If it's nonfiction, I'll tend to like it. I don't really read a lot of biographies or memoirs about people. Maybe I should. I mean, I've been interested in Britney Spears's memoirs, and then Jeanette McCurdy's book I think is really popular too, but it's just like I don't I don't know. I want to deal with concepts. I don't want to deal with people right now. So, but maybe that'll change, who knows. So yeah, those are my favorite genres. If I had to order them, I would probably do horror, non-fiction, and then like maybe like mysteries or contemporary lit or something. Okay, the last question. What does your book collection look like? Yeah, so most of my books are in this room, my sunroom, and I'll put footage of it on screen. First, we have this bookshelf, and I should specify that the first two rows of shelving are dedicated to my books. And I have them in like a somewhat rainbow order, I guess. I've read, I think, almost all of these books, and then the secondary shelves down here, or like what you see on camera most of the time, are actually my husband's books. Moving on from that, we have our book cart. I got this off Amazon when we were living in Boston, and it's been a great investment because it's like a mobile little cart. And I know people use these for nurseries, but we use this for books. So the top shelf is all my books. These are all things I'm currently reading or I want to read, and there's too many of them on there. It is driving me crazy. The secondary shelf is like what my husband's currently reading / extra copies of Cursed Images for me and my coloring books. And too many bookmarks to count, just scattered throughout the stuff. I also have crayons on my shelf for coloring books. And then the bottom is just my husband's stuff. So it's all stuff that he's currently reading or he wants to read. Moving on to the other side of the room, there is a little tower with some of my husband's knitting books on there, pictures of us. But if you move up in the space, you'll see these are all these books that I've read when I was a kid. My mom recently moved and she wanted to clean out all her stuff and basically get rid of anything that has to do with her children. I joke, but it is what it is. So I got boxes and boxes of books that I haven't touched for probably 20 years, but I remember reading them. So I put all the ones that I had an emotional connection to up there. There's also a couple of books maybe that I stole from college up there. But yeah, that's kind of like a documented part of the history of what I've read. Likewise, I didn't show this, but on the other side of the room, there's an empty shelf for more books to go. So that's great. Eventually, we will get to that. The shelf above my head is bare, but we will fill that with more books eventually. I also have books in the living room that I showed you, where it's all books that I've read, and some of my favorite books that I've read. I think Douglas has like a couple on there too, but some of my favorite books that I've read recently, and then also signed copies of books. So when it comes to like the Clown in the Cornfield series, I got that signed by the author when he came to visit in Chicago. And then I also have my copy of Bunny that's signed by Mona Awad, my favorite book of all time. So yeah, that's really cool. I like to have that out because like that's our living room and that's like the guest space. So if people ask about that, I can be like, hee, here's my signed copy of whatever. So yeah, that's on there too. Okay, so that is my BookTube Newbie tag. Thank you so much for watching. I know I'm not technically a newbie, but I hope you found this video helpful or insightful in some way. Like if you want to start a book channel, or if you want to know more about me or my taste in books or whatever, here you go. I just thought this was something that seemed fun, so why not? You know what I mean? And now I can say that I've officially done it, that this is officially somewhat of a BookTube channel. Yay. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, feel free to like it, comment down below, and share it with a friend, or subscribe to the channel. Please, please, please. That would mean a lot to me. And until next time, thanks. Bye.